snapshot of my life. Its colors weave a cloak so rich in sorrow. You're failing, but it's no fault of mine. I've worn our secrets with a smile for so long.
Today on Make It Heard we have our Meet the Artist section, and this week we've got somebody who's done quite a lot of things actually. She's been a singer, she's been a backing singer, she's been an actress, and she's also done a lot of audio work and audio editing. So we have with us today Frances Broudie Oldridge. One of her many names. She's got quite a few names. And we want to look at all parts of her career because she's done quite a lot in her lifetime. Firstly, let's talk about your singing career. So when did you first start out in the business?
I first started really when I was probably about 18, and I probably went down the route that most people do at that age when you join a band.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined a band and I sung with a band, and we made a couple of demos, as you do. Then I got a new boyfriend and he had a band. So I joined that band, and I remember it was we were a reggae band, and I used to dress up in all this African clothing.
Oh, right, okay.
And I had a big African turban and the whole thing. And my first gig with them was at the Rock Garden, which is gone now, unfortunately, in Covent Garden. And that was the first taste of management. We got a management deal. And I'll never forget, we had a wonderful African bongo player, and we'd go to the manager for a meeting and for lunch, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he'd lay on the floor between the door and go to sleep. He'd just go to sleep. It was just very strange. So that's way back, probably when I was in my early 20s. I started messing with bands. And
what time frame are we talking here? What year?
Oh, what year? Oh God, 1976.
Okay, all right. So I'm just trying to figure out where you are in the genres. So disco and glam rock were approaching.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
and
new romantics.
They were a bit further later, weren't they? It was punk and new wave in '79. This is my era as well.
Right.
And then new romantics sort of came, and mods in the 80s.
You know, I have to disagree with you then.
Do you?
Because I used to manage, I was a manager of Kickers shoes in London, and I managed in all of their shops, Kensington High Street, Kings Road, Beecham Place. I moved around South Molton Street. And when I was in, and my daughter and I was 3 at the time, when I was in Kensington High Street, was right opposite Kensington Market. And New Romantics was just coming in then. So they started quite early with the fashion, but maybe they didn't pick up till a little later.
Yeah, I think quite often things take, the mass public take a long time to grab onto things like that. And up north we probably got it a lot later than you.
Oh, you must have done, yeah. I mean, I'm talking right at the core of fashion, Kensington Market and everything like that.
Yeah.
So then I started back there, but I progressed quite rapidly, really. I decided with the band that we were doing the African thing, I mean, we got so far, but it didn't really go any further. I decided that I wanted to become a session singer, a backing vocalist. So I'd met a girl, become friends with a girl, and we decided that we would have some business cards printed. We'd call ourselves Danger Vox and put an ad in the Melody Maker. So that's what we did, and we found ourselves in all sorts of different places singing backing vocals for all these different people. We were both natural singers, neither of us could read, but we managed to get quite a lot of work and work with some really nice up and coming bands. And then we kind of went our separate ways, and I went and I'd been singing for a Scottish guy called Robert Farrell. He had a couple of named musicians in his band, and I think that was the first time that I'd actually kind of gone up a peg, was working with some named musicians. And an audition came up for a guy called Ian Shaw. I was a jazz singer, and he has a show on Jazz FM now, but he was always top of his trade as a jazz singer. And he put in an ad for a backing vocalist. So I went and auditioned for Ian, and I got the job. And we had some wonderful times together singing. He was also trying to get a deal at the time. We did numerous showcases, but none of them really came to anything at that time, even though he is such a fantastic singer. And he was already well known in London as probably one of the best jazz singers around. And I never forget a funny story. He was doing a gig in a gay club in Islington, and there was myself singing backing vocals, and Sarah Jane Morris was singing backing vocals. And then Ian, in the middle of performance, started staggering around and dropped to the floor.
Oh, my God.
And we ended up in the ambulance going to the hospital with him. But all was well. He was fine. But that introduced me to people like Sarah Jane Morris. And then through Ian again, he started getting me interested more and more in jazz, and I started going out on my own then as a jazz singer and playing lots of the London pubs and clubs. And through Ian, I was introduced to my current musical singing partner, Violet Williams, and she was friends with Brian Kennedy. She'd worked with Bap Kennedy, who's Brian's brother, who unfortunately died in the Adventures. I think it was the Adventures. And he died, unfortunately. But Brian was just, his career was just starting.
Right.
And he wanted to put together a band to tour. And I got on that gig. So that started the whole Irish connection off, really. And we did a European tour with Brian, which was fab. Played some amazing places all over Europe. And it was a very acoustic band, so it was kind of quite exposed.
Raw and nice,
it was tense because there used to be a post-mortem after every gig.
Oh my God.
And I never forget one memorable gig when during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, we were there playing the Belfast Opera House, and we'd been taken out on a tour of the Falls Road.
Okay.
And that was quite shocking. To see actually soldiers black-faced with guns walking backwards down the road, and it was all a bit scary. And we were staying in Europe's most bombed hotel at the time, which was the Europa.
Oh, right, my son's just been
At
there.
that time, it will make you laugh. You had to go through a Murphy hut to get checked, and that was it. There was no other security except you'd all tramp through this Murphy hut. And being on tour was just one trick after the other. It was like everyone was playing pranks. That was what happened. And myself and Violet, we used to have what we called them tour fangs, and we had these false fangs, and we'd run round hotels with fangs on, and we'd do really silly things like we'd take, this is terrible really, we'd take pictures off the walls in the hotel, turn them round the other way, and then we draw lewd drawings, and then we'd put them back in the frame and put them on the wall. Anyway, we're in Belfast. It's Brian's hometown. It's a really big gig for him in the Opera House. And it all started with, we were waiting to be escorted from the hotel just across the street to the Opera House for sound check. And I was chatting to a young guy, and it was all chatty. And then suddenly he's followed us into cafe area in the hotel. So we're sitting in the hotel and we're all passing cigarettes around, and he asked me for a cigarette. I gave him a cigarette, and someone had put an exploding end in the thing.
Not in Ireland.
So it first of all, it started with it exploding in his face, and that gave him a bit of a shock. And then it's time to leave. So we're walking across the road, and he's still there now. And we got to the doors of the Opera House, and the police swooped on him and dragged him away. And that was the last we saw of him. But it got worse than that.
Oh,
So
no.
we're in this gig. The whole of Brian's family have come to see him. It's a packed house. It's the Opera House. It's really beautiful. And during the course of the gig, which is very acoustic, there was myself and Violet, there's a percussion player, bass player, keyboard player, Brian on guitar. That's it. It was very acoustic. And during the gig, the set, myself and Violet would go off stage when Brian was singing on his own.
Yeah.
So he goes off stage and we're fiddling about, as you do. We're always fiddling about, mucking about on the side of the stage. And on the guitar case, there was a coin. So I picked it up. And what did it do? It exploded.
Oh, my God.
And you heard Brian stop playing the guitar. The whole crowd
Gasps.
gasped. And we're like this now at the back, but we got a serious telling off. In fact, I think at this one, he dropped his guitar, he broke a string, and we got such a telling off. And it wasn't us. We didn't put that there.
No.
It was the roadies. The roadies had put the coin on the guitar, and it just was the worst possible place ever to have done that. So that's my funny story of Brian. So then after Brian, during that gig, that tour, we were playing at the Olympia in Dublin.
Yeah.
So we played the Olympia Dublin, and Mary Coughlin was in the audience, and she came backstage afterwards and said, "Oh, loved it, loved the backing vocals. Do you want to come and sing with me tomorrow?"
Wow.
And it was just exactly how it happened. So the following night we sang with her, and that relationship is still going on till this day. So it just built up from there, really, of just...
As you meet people, they pass you on. It's quite nice.
That's right. And I did the Commitments, was part of the pre-production on the film The Commitments, which means what we would do is Alan Parker would have what is known as a laundry list when he's choosing the songs for the film. And what I did along with Violet, we were like a session band, and we would perform all those songs. So we'd get about an hour to learn a song.
Oh my goodness.
And we'd sit there with our Pro Walkmans on, because everyone had a Pro Walkman at that time.
Yes, I remember them well.
And we'd sit there trying to learn these songs, and then we'd go into the room and we'd perform them for Alan Parker, and he'd decide which songs he was going to use.
Put in the film, yeah.
And then we would then write the occasional additional backing vocals for the backing vocalists in the film to sing, and then we would tutor them through the singing of the song. So we was involved in that from the start. So that was a great experience.
Did you not want to actually be part of the film, or was it just a case of...
Not at that time. At that time, that's what I was. I was purely a singer.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought... I mean, we did some walk-ons, which is quite funny. We did do some walk-ons on the scenes, but, I've never found them.
No.
So they may have ended up on the cutting room floor.
It quite often happens, yeah.
So after that, I came back to the UK and decided then that I wanted to go and live in Ireland. And basically, eventually that's what I did, packed everything up and just shipped everything in the car and moved over
Moved
there.
to Ireland for a while.
And moved in with Mary, yes. So, I had some fun over there.
Yeah.
We did a lot of things, supported Fleetwood Mac with the band that supported them there at the Point Depot, did lots of tours with other bands around there. So
Yeah, and you actually sang backing vocals for somebody that I was very fond of.
Yes, that was before I went. Yes, I got the gig with Cindy Ecstasy, who sung with Mark Armand in Soft Cell.
Yeah, she did Torch.
She did. She was a lovely lady. In fact, I have recontacted Nick. I think it is. I'm sure it's Nick who played with us in that band. But he no longer has a connection to Cindy. So I was trying to find her for you.
Everybody's been trying to find her because Soft Cell did their final concert and they wanted to get her on stage, but they couldn't find her.
They couldn't find her either.
No. So now Soft Cell decided they're going to do some more gigs. It would be so lovely if we could find Cindy Ecstasy.
Do you know, I've got a funny feeling that I tracked down on the internet that she might be something involved with art now. She's hard to find because I don't actually know what her real name was.
No, I don't think anybody did.
We had some strange times with them because the band Six Said Red were the darlings of the S&M scene.
Okay.
And we ended up gigging at a lot of S&M concerts.
Crikey.
And we did one very memorable gig for the Outsiders Club at the time, which was a club for the sexual needs of disabled people.
Wow.
And it was in a disused warehouse at the back of the Ritz Hotel. Her mum had come over from New York, and she'd come over with a cine camera.
Oh my goodness.
And, you know, it was just, it was like a bizarre S&M fest. You know, there were half-dressed people. There was orgies. There was Lee Bowery doing some mad dancing in the middle of the thing. And I never forget this particularly because they had a smoke machine.
Yeah.
And during our set, they set off the smoke machine and it choked us all. We had to all run off the stage because we couldn't breathe. We were literally choking. We had to wait for it all to calm down.
Yeah.
And then we could go back and finish our set. But I just have memories of her mum, who must have been in her 70s then.
Yeah.
Just filming all these half-naked people, you know, with her cine camera. It was just such a memorable evening.
Yeah.
I had this PVC dress on. We were all dressed in plastic and vinyl, and
Oh, but you were sweaty.
great fun though. Great fun.
Yeah.
But then we lost track. You know, you move on. You move on to
these things
different
happen. Yeah.
different things, different gigs, different people, and that's just how it goes, really.
So now you've just finished writing recording your next album. So
Yeah, I mean, I had 20 years recording and writing in a duo called Tracing Arcs, and we were very cutting edge when we started at the same time as Massive Attack. But I think we were probably quite a bit older than Massive Attack, and that was the downside of trying to actually really make some headways. So we ended up.
It was all real young things, wasn't it? In the 80s.
Yeah. Well, we're now. So where are we now? So I was arts. This is 30 years ago. So now 86. We're going up to the 90s now when we started with the Arcs.
Okay.
I mean, and whatever we did, people loved, and there's lots of stuff out there, and it's all free downloads, and it's on every platform possible, plus a million other people's compilation albums. But it didn't actually make us. It wasn't so much the money; it's the inclusivity as a professional.
Yeah, I know what you
that
mean.
one needs to achieve. You know, it's not about the ego. We were definitely very professional in everything we brought out and the way we did it, but it's that acknowledgement, it's that validation, isn't it, that us as human beings seem
we need,
to need validation, that you are who you say you are. So that project did end about 10 years ago. Since then I have reworked some of my music, because even though the Arcs has had in excess of 1 million downloads of the things that we did, it was still very niche.
Yes.
You know, it still didn't appeal enough for it to cross over and get
General appreciation.
So I've reworked some of the songs with some fine musicians, and I hope I'm getting near the end of mixing it now, and I hope to be releasing that sometime later this year.
So let's listen to one of the tracks. This one's called Animals.
Sometimes for hours through heaven till morning, till it's light, and there's sunshine. They come as I get warmer, and there's across my pillow. They go in spiral whispers. They are perfect listeners. They tell me all my secrets and feed me tea and biscuits. It's a silent union, like the first day of creation. There are animals in the wall. I see them with night vision. There are animals in the wall. I see them with night vision. There are animals in the wall. I see them with night vision. There are animals in the wall. I see them with night vision. There are animals in the wall. I see them with night vision.
That was a track from Frances Broudie Oldridge's new LP, and it's called Animals. Have you enjoyed working solo?
It took me quite a long time to actually like it, because I was so used to working in a specific way
Yeah.
that suddenly I was at the helm. And to be honest, I did feel like I lost my way a bit during the course of making this album. But now it seems to be settling.
Yeah.
And I can see that, sometimes you have to it's a fine line between what you like and making a product that can be appreciated by different people and not just people that like what you like.
Yeah. I mean, when I listen to it, it's got quite a New York vibe. It's got the trumpet player and, the noir type
Yes, very dark.
jazz singing type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm quite a dark writer. I must admit, it's not that I'm not a happy person, because I am. I'm very optimistic. I'm always on the up, basically. I don't really have many downtimes, but I'm not a lover of happy songs. I don't like happy songs. They don't do anything for me.
No, I think to get the raw emotion into a song, it lifts it, doesn't it? And just happy songs. It's
Yeah, but you see, people like happy songs. That was
Yeah.
another thing. People, I don't think, like to be made too uncomfortable. They don't want to go places that makes them introspective or to remind them of the down times in their life and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of like edgy. Whatever I'm doing, I like edgy. If it's not edgy, it doesn't
It doesn't
appeal to me.
No.
You know.
No. Yeah, you were telling me earlier that you're playing in your acting capacity some very dark roles at the moment.
Oh yes, I am playing very, very dark roles. I mean, I think about this because when I'm doing voiceover and audio drama, I'm totally at ease at playing comic roles. I take to them really easily. I've never really been offered or been in a situation. Well, I guess your role had when I played in Start Square.
Yeah.
There was comic in that. There was, but it had
There was elements.
There
It was
was
very
elements
dark,
of comic,
yeah.
but it was very dark. But I think when I think to myself, what happens if somebody asked me to do a romantic scene? How would that work? It's completely strange. I don't know how I would tackle that at this point in time. Although I am a very romantic person, as a human, I have like lots of thoughts about romance and romanticism. But my roles, and I do enjoy them. I do enjoy the dark, sinister roles. I do like them, but I'm not actually a dark, sinister person.
It's quite chunky getting an evil person, because there's so many layers that you have to lift off when you're acting them.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It is, and very interestingly, I had lunch with Floyd only the other day, and she was giving me some tips on acting and layers and things that I could do to shift my energy with a role, not during the role, but that will help
practice,
to practice, which will then create those layers that you're talking about. And it was very interesting. I've been thinking about that a lot because my next two roles are quite dark. I'd say not so much the film role, but definitely this play that I'm doing is very dark.
I mean, as a writer, I don't just write a baddie. There's got to be a reason why that person has become how they've become, but also, you've got to have that element of she thinks she's doing the right thing as well. She thinks she's on a mission rather than that she's doing something really terrible and criminal.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I think when you need to understand the person you're playing, I think it is difficult when I guess that there's a reason behind the badness, but it's almost as though that there's some damage that is too deep there because it goes too far sometimes, and then that doesn't help you try and understand your role. I mean, I'll take back actually that my film role that I'm doing coming up. She's not a baddie at all. She just has to be a hard ass. Yeah, she's not bad.
And there's a reason why she's a hard ass, and having that in your head, even if it's not written down, just having that in your head really helps you act that out, doesn't it? If you give her a reason.
Yes.
If the writer hasn't done.
No.
So when did you actually start? Move from singing? Well, you've not moved from singing, but when did you start acting?
Well, strangely enough, with the job that I can't really tell you about, otherwise I'd have to shoot you.
Oh gosh, one of those.
I've been acting for the last 10 years, one way or the other. I've been working with briefs. I've been morphing throughout the course of a day into 6 different people. So I have been acting for a long time now, but it's not until I just made that realisation, this is what I do for a living, but now I'm going to take some instruction, I'm going to learn, I'm going to take some classes. And that was about five years ago now. I mean, I've had a lot of performance experience on a stage as a singer, quick thinking.
And it helps, it really helps.
Oh God, yeah. And also not only the big gigs, I mean the big touring gigs, the Reading festivals and those type of big gigs. I'm talking
intimate,
I'm talking intimate, 2 people in a pub where they're watching the football. That is hard, and that
really hard.
Academically I'm absolute rubbish. I did my apprenticeship in the face of people that would talk to you while you're singing, and I think that is priceless.
I think everybody needs that. I mean, myself as a performer, bizarrely I used to do science shows, and some days the auditorium would be full, and some days I'd have one mother and 2 children that really didn't want to be there.
Mm.
But I had to grab those 3 people and take
Yeah.
them on the journey with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard work. It's a lot harder than having a big audience.
Oh God, yeah, it's definitely hard when the person on the table in front of you is chain smoking and blowing fags at you during your singing, and to the left of you they're on the fruit machine.
Oh my God.
And then you've got the football screen in front.
Yeah.
So that is very hard. I also done
Too many distractions.
some ferry work where your
Yeah.
equipment is chained and everyone's throwing up.
Oh,
And
great.
including me, and that's 3 or 4 gigs a day. I mean, that is
Oh,
hard
that's
as well.
grueling, that's
It is
grueling.
grueling.
Yeah,
It's not fun. I mean, the big gigs are like the rider. You know,
Yeah.
you get the rider. You've got everything, and you are completely like
Cosseted,
adulation. You know,
Yeah, you're
shuffled
cosseted.
in. They're completely different. They're
Yeah.
nothing like the gigs that you do in the pubs.
But I think, I mean, there's a certain amount of hours, isn't there, before you become really good, that they say that you've got to put in as for practice, you know, to become a professional. You know, it's like the Beatles went to Berlin and did loads and loads and stuff
Yes.
before they came back
Yes.
and were a better band.
Yes. I mean,
So-
yeah. I mean, I think the more you do, the better it is for your voice.
Mm-hmm.
The more confident you are, the better it is
Yeah.
for your performance.
And the same with acting as
Yeah.
well. I mean, you're
Yeah.
saying now that you're going to do a lot of courses and things like that. I think everybody, actors, writers, you have to keep your hand and you have to keep going back because you start to get stale. And I think going to a class.
Oh yes, I've just started a new class. Yeah.
Okay. Where are you going?
I've joined Inspire Actors in Manchester.
Okay.
I've done classes in Liverpool. I did them for a number of years, and I thought it's time to branch out and try
Yeah.
something new. And
There seems to be a whole new ball game in Manchester as far as the acting courses go. Yeah, I've met quite a few people that are you know, doing some really good stuff over there.
yeah, well, what struck me, I did a few taster lessons. It's run by an actor director called Michael Koff.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I've pronounced that properly.
Yeah.
What was so evident to me was his positivity
Mm-hmm.
with everything that people did. The vibe in the class was
Yeah.
at the ceiling.
Yeah.
And his thoughts are that there is no wrong. Whatever you do, it's right. You take what you take from your script, but the way you portray it, whoever
It's
you're,
your portrayal.
it's your portrayal.
Yeah.
There is no wrong. You
No.
know, I mean, unless you muck up your words and you're terrible, but there is no wrong, and
Yeah.
that is in itself. As an actor, I think he's created a really safe space where there's no negative criticism.
Yeah.
There might be criticism or ideas, but there's no negative criticism, and it really shows
Yeah.
in the way people behave in that class.
Yeah. I mean, I went on a writing course that was based on the Disney idea of designing a theme park, and that sounds weird. Writing a novel like Disney create a theme park. And the first thing they said is the first rule on creating a theme park is there is no such thing as a bad idea. And so to have that validation to start off with, that, you know, you're free to try things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the idea is not a bad idea. And I found that really freeing as far as writing was concerned. So I can understand acting as well would be the same situation. And people like Floyd, she was ever so funny. We were doing Right Up Your Street, and she was giving everybody a masterclass with her acting. And I filmed her in rehearsal one day, and she said, "Oh, can you send me that film?" And she sent it to her tutor, because she has a tutor that she works with, and the tutor said to her, "My dear, what were you doing? You weren't acting with your legs." And we thought she was perfect, but you know, she still thinks she needs to learn at her age. You know,
well, you do. You really do. And another reason I've chosen this Manchester group is it's involves half the course is about improvisation, and that's a new tool for me.
Yeah,
In an acting setup. I mean, we all improvise. Every day we improvise.
Yeah.
But that's fun.
Yeah, I found improv really useful, especially working an audience. It's really nice once you've done a bit of improv to actually do improv in front of an audience,
Yes.
because you sort of learn what works and what doesn't
Yes.
work then.
Yeah, well, you have to do improv as a singer. You have to do improv,
Oh, yeah.
especially as you're, if you're in a situation and you're doing backing vocals or whatever,
Yeah.
and something happens, you have to
to
do
get in there.
something,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It always reminds me of the Laughing Elvis track where the backing singer's improvising and it sets him off laughing, but she has to carry on.
Yeah.
It's like she's, oh my God, I have to keep doing this
Yeah.
because he's going to carry on laughing, and it just sort of feeds into each other. It's a very funny one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do. You've got the audience out there, and you've got to make it look like this is what we do.
Yeah.
Even if things are going wrong.
Yes,
You know.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's what I always. That's my if you forget your lines, make it up.
Yeah.
Long as you remember that, it's all going to be fine.
So recently, well, we've all been doing this over the lockdown. You've gone more into audio work.
I have, yes, I have.
But you've taken it the distance really, with your series called Chavman. So who's written Chavman?
Well, Chavman is written by a director called D.B. Morgan, and I first come across Dominic when I auditioned, just from an advertisement for a film he was making called Faith. I was at the Edinburgh Festival just there a couple of years ago, and I saw this advert on Star Now for a mature actor for a cameo role. Wanted an experienced person, so I applied. I said I wouldn't actually say I was really that experienced, but I'm really interested. And he sent me the sides, and I rehearsed them. And I went to my girlfriend's. I was working at the time. I stopped off at a girlfriend's house in Birmingham, and she read the other side, and we shot it in her upstairs attic. And I sent it off to him, and within 10 minutes he'd come back and went, "Thank you."
Oh, good.
And I went, "Oh my God!" So I got the part.
Yeah.
And it was working with him. It was his first feature film, and it had named actors in it and me. And it was pretty scary. And it was all shot in a barn in an upside down car at his parents' farm.
Oh my goodness.
And it hasn't actually been released, but it has won so many awards at the festivals. I mean, I can't wait for it to be
Blown
released because
away
I
as
haven't
well.
got a show
Yeah.
reel, and I want that on
Yeah.
my show reel. But I've
course.
still got to wait for it. But anyway, so that was great. And last year during lockdown, I sent him my little show reels that I'd made for audio. I decided
Yeah.
to go and do audio because I'd been in studios all of my singing career.
Yeah.
I've spent
So you know
days.
sound.
I know sound, but although I've owned in excess of about 3 professional studios, because I didn't talk about the record label, because otherwise that's how I had studios.
Yeah.
I've tried a number of times to make my own music. I've tried learning the equipment, and it just went over my head. I just wasn't interested. But when I decided during lockdown, I've got to do something, I've got a mixer, I'm going to get a mic, I'm going to set up, and I am going to do some voiceover. I had to make my own show reels rather than I didn't have to, but I chose to because I've got plenty of ideas.
Yeah.
So I made my own show reels and I sent them to Dom and said, "Look, I'm doing voiceover, made my own show reels, And he came back with me saying, "Well, they're fantastic. Would you like to do a project that was an animation that I've written called Chavman?" And he gave me the brief on it, and I said, "That would be fantastic," because he said it's about these 2 mad Chav people from Essex. I know it doesn't sound like that. I mean, I found out that Chav means something completely different up north. It means council house and violence.
There's actually lots of different meanings.
But not down south, it doesn't.
Yeah. I used to teach diversity. Chav actually comes from gypsy for child.
Oh, okay. There's another one there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the council house and violent was created by the police.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
So you've got the two meanings, but of course, I know in London it's a way of living. It's the Burberry and
it's the fake designer jeans. It's the chains. It's the laddish kind of, juvenile kind of persona. And Dom had written this this story, which was he wanted originally to be an animation, and it's a bit like a cross between a Viz magazine and Beavis and Butthead, and they're silly antics, and they are silly, and they're very silly. And he said to me, it's all set, in the rave era, and they go partying and that. And I said, well, that's just fab. I'm going to have a bash at that. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, have a go at the first bit, and then we'll take it from there. So I put together a little clip of the first bit, and I played it to him, and he said, wow, he said, you really get it, that's fab.
Let's have a little listen to the first part of Chavman, so here we go.
The Chavman Chronicles by D.B. Morgan. From outer space, glowing in the pitch void, a speck of light begins to flicker within the southeast of merry England. Tommy Bunce, a.k.a. Chavman. A wiry fellow of dubious breeding, clad in traditional Chav attire, fake Armani jeans, Ben Sherman shirt, and the obligatory baseball cap. He sits, screaming as he saws off his foot. He intermittently checks his phone as blood sprays over the Burberry wallpaper, and his foot bungees precariously toward the floor. It bounces up and down as Chavman spies a gnarly pair of scissors, and then... step! Tendon severed, he screams like an elderly rape victim as his foot tumbles to the floor. He slips an electronic tag from his leg stump and carefully places it onto a jewellery mannequin on the bedside table. A gold chain finished with cannabis leaf pendant and fake Rolex watch complete the attire. A squirt or two of Ted Baker cologne, his snakeskin wallet abrim with condoms slides into his jean pocket. And, still waiting, he jumps into the leather office chair, sliding himself excruciatingly toward the window. His thumb lowers onto a large red button, hovering momentarily, tentatively, and then Chavman presses the freedom switch. His body is forced into the chair, his head thrown violently backward as the chair projects him through the window and into the air like a missile.
Made the whole thing, the hour-long production myself, and I voiced all the voices. There's about 5 voices in there, and then we decided that to give it better dynamics, we would audition actors for it, which is what we did. And consequently, I was also able to connect with some wonderful artists that I had on a record label that I'd set up myself with them 30 years ago at the beginning of the rave scene, which we were very, very into at that time.
So they wrote you some music.
They wrote all my incidental music. Plus, fabulous. I used a lot of the tracks that they had written originals. So they originals from way back then.
Oh wow!
Plus, I also put in as much of my own music as possible.
Of course.
And I even put some Mary Coughlin in there on the radio. So it was just a real good platform for me to plough everything, and I just had a whale of a time. I loved it.
And you had some trials and tribulations with recording because your star didn't have any recording equipment.
We did. Well, Dom had just cast Ray Whelan in the next feature film that he's doing called Morris Men. And he said to me that Ray's really interested in auditioning for Chavman. We said, oh, but he's Irish. Okay, well, we'll go with that. Why not?
Yeah.
So we auditioned him and loved his audition, and cast him in the part of the lead of Tommy Bunce. And then we started doing the recordings, and they were coming back, and they were awful. And I said, Dom, I can't do anything with these recordings. They are awful. So after trying a few other things, I had to pack my entire studio up and travel down to Heathrow to record him myself. And bless him, he was in a beautiful, lovely new flat, but there was shiny surfaces everywhere. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And then he had the lovely little puppy, and it was very distracting. But we put him in the cupboard and managed to do it. And it was so stressful doing that.
I think audio people seem to, live in cupboards, because that's the best place to go with your soft walls. And
but these weren't soft walls; these were hard cupboard walls. So we had another.
You still had the problem.
We still had the problem, but we just went with it. And it took about a year to make.
Yeah,
it took me a long time to make this, because also it was a completely new endeavour for me. I mean, it was a big piece of work to work through, and I'd sit down with my script and I think, only 4 more pages and also once we had the recordings we had a wonderful narrator called James Reynard.
Yes, I was saying he very, very reminiscent of Rocky Horror Show.
Oh,
his
he's
style.
Fabulous. We wanted the juxtaposition of the high-end narrator.
Yeah, it's very posh.
And the Chavman and all the things that go on during his escapade. And it was fabulous. But once I had everybody, we've always got lovely Charlie Bond in there as well, who's very well known for all her gangster films. Once I had all the audio and the actual script had been rewritten from my adaptation from a narration to an audio, all the times changed. So I had to then go back and fit everything meticulously around this full backing track that I'd made.
Oh my
and that
goodness.
was like, oh gosh, that was hard.
It's like starting again.
That was it was worse than starting again.
Really?
Because when you start again, you're rolling with it from the word go. As the audio, the voice is going on, you're applying the backing as you go along. But then you try putting different lengths audio back onto the audio, which has been meticulously placed. That really does give you a headache. But I persevered. It's got that. And it's now been, I'm just waiting now. It's now been uploaded via Authors Republic, and it will be on all the usual suspect platforms.
So everything you can think of.
It's going to be within the next few weeks that it will actually be available.
That's fabulous.
And it is monetized, because Dom went, we've got all these actors, we need to kind of monetize it. So that not a lot. It's not. I think it's about a £5. But so that's.
But it's really good. I said that it had it reminded me of some animated series that I'd seen before, and you said it was meant to be animated originally.
It was meant to be an animation, and we're hoping, because it's part of a whole set of dark comic stories that have a link to famous horror films. I mean, Chavman being The Walking Dead. It's the zombies, because there's zombies in it, and it's very silly, but it's fab and dark and quite inappropriate.
Oh yeah, I did listen to the inappropriateness.
But,
that's great.
But it's a bit of fun, really, I suppose. So, and it's I think it's fun because it's got all the music in it and lots of foot tapping.
It was very high energy when I was listening to it. I thought, it's really good.
Yeah. Don't know what the next one's going to be. I think the next one is going to be Pet Cemetery.
Oh, great.
So I don't know how
I was just about to say it's the perfect thing to put on while you're making the tea in the background, because it's nice and noisy. noisy and interesting and makes you laugh.
Yeah.
But Pet Sematary while you're making your tea.
Yeah, well, if I've got anything to do with it, it's going to be amusing.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was also able to play 2 parts in that as well, which is just great. So it's all good for the good for the profile.
Yeah, I picked you out. You were in the first one. You were hanging upside down, tattooed from
Mullins. Yes, I play Mullins.
Tattooed from head to bollocks.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny.
And lovely Tracy Hummer, who I love her. She's so vile, isn't she?
Yeah,
she
really
was
vile.
really fun to do.
Yeah.
I spotted you playing Mullins in this scene where Chapman and Mullins are in a taxi going to a party.
Clubbing, then?
A party.
What's that? A birthday party?
A party.
Maccabe's bloodshot eyes shift there and back to the road ahead, curiosity piqued by the 2 young lads huddled, gibbering together on the back seat.
What year is it?
Thursday?
A taxicab rumbles over a spooky bridge and into the great unknown as several planks of wood break free and fall into the fast-flowing river beneath. They speed further into the blackness.
Perform a U-turn at the next available opportunity. I don't like it here.
Slowing down, the driver removes his shoe and sets about the unit with frustration.
Oh, you fucking...
As he curses harshly in words unknown.
Piece of fucking shite.
Turn left at the Eiffel Tower.
The distant howls of unknown beasts alert us that Dorothy is in Kansas no more.
So when you get some writing from a writer, what sort of appeals to you? What do you go, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that? What's the thing for you?
Well, I think to be able to just get into the character and create as much atmosphere around it as I can. Really, that's what I like, and I like audio because you can really, your imagination, you're in control. You can use your full imagination. Yes. You can pull faces, you can make shapes when you're doing things, because it all helps to get that character out of your body and onto
it really does.
Digital.
I mean, just me doing intros for Shevchenko Radio. I found that if I didn't smile, I sounded miserable. So I had to smile while I'm talking, which is really bizarre.
Yeah.
So.
You can hear. You can hear, and also I think it's much more relaxed when you're doing audio, and you can still put all the tension into it, but it's quite different, I think, from live performance.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. It's much more laid back.
Yeah, although it does always still amazes me how, once you've got a script in your head, that it's just there for you to use.
Yes.
It's quite amazing how the brain works like that.
Yeah.
Have you got any more audio collaborations on the go?
Yeah, and then there's the next audio drama in the planning stages at the moment with writer Ted Gray. Really excited about that. I think it's going to be fantastic when it's finished. So looking forward to getting going on that.
Yeah, Ted really got the audio bug when he was putting some work together for his own showcase.
So, have you got any future plans? Is there anything in the irons in the fire?
Well, apart from I'm doing a little play with the Valley Theatre, Community Theatre, very another dark little number called Park Bench. That's coming up in August. And then in October, I've got 10 days on location with Dominic Morgan's latest film, which I'm so excited about because it's such a wonderful concept called Morris Men. And the concept of the film is about Morris men, but not as we know them. And Morris men that are really undercover, Escriba, ninja warriors. And they basically are the undertow of the police, and they clean up the problems, the drug problems, the gangster problems of the British seaside towns.
Oh, fantastic.
So they are run by high-working government official types, but they are Morris men with a difference. and I play Shelley Bass in that, which is a fantastic role. An ex-army veteran who basically is the female controller, caller of the dance, the squire. So I work alongside the team.
Lord of the dance.
Yeah, capiche. So she says, yeah, she's a great character. I'm so looking forward to that. And that has some wonderful. It's got some really interesting martial arts specialists involved in the creation, and it's also going to involve me having to go and learn some Morris dancing. So
great.
I'm trying to get on to do that at the moment. But
With your little hanky.
yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing to do. And what's nice about it as well is I seem to have found myself part of Dominic's journey.
Yeah.
Not only me, but they're Greg Mesowak, who's a wonderful musical director. He's worked with Madonna and all these wonderful people. And Dominic has managed to, not talking about myself here, but surround himself with a wonderful team of people that are supporting
That's the way to do it, really.
his films and his journeys, because he himself has also set up a school to introduce less fortunate younger people with mental health issues, young people that are unable to get involved in films, and he's set up a school to teach them, and he has them on. He introduces them into the making of the films.
Yeah, does work experience with them.
Work experience with them. So he's doing some really good things, and it's coming back at him, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, what you send out into the world comes back normally. So what's your album called that's coming out?
Do you know, I haven't got a name for it, but I know it's Project Sparrow. The name of the project is Sparrow. That's who we are now, Sparrow. But I'm yet to think of a name. So if anybody's got a name, chuck it at me.
Well, you'll hear some of the tracks, so you might be able to come up with something for Frances. So let Frances know.
Yes, and album picture ideas, because I'm also stuck at that. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't really set my mind on what should we do as an album cover yet.
Yeah. It's a shame you still haven't got your marmosettes, because you could have had those on your shoulder.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time when marmosettes on my shoulder. When I was living in Kent, I used to have some association with the Rhino Society, and they're these people that dress up in rhino suits that used to run the marathon.
Yeah.
And I used to hold quite a lot of parties, and there's on more than one occasion I'd be standing there with one of my marmosettes. Marmite would be on my shoulder, and this is naked Marmite. This is Marmite without any fur, so he looked very strange. And you could see the look on people standing talking to me that had had far too much to drink, and probably other substances as well.
A pink monkey.
Absolutely.
On your shoulder.
Thinking, no, that's not really a monkey on her shoulder. Is that a monkey on? You could just see their eyes flick from mine to the monkey. No, I don't have them now, unfortunately.
No.
The house smells a lot better. I smell a lot better these days without having a monkey around.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the album. Chavman's about to come out on all platforms.
Yes.
And
Morris Men
is coming
filming
along
in October.
soon. Yeah.
Faith is going on general release
Very soon.
the first film. He's just got a distribution deal actually with Monument Pictures or something.
Yeah.
But that's coming out on general release.
That's fabulous. And the end of August for the Valley Players.
Yes, Park Bench. Yes, come and support us.
So yeah, definitely a good thing to support down at the Valley Players, because
It's a great little theatre.
it's a
as
lovely
well.
theatre. It's a bit out in the middle of nowhere, so people don't go. But get on a bus, get your car out. Whatever, just get down there and come and watch some great plays. Right, so thank you, Frances. It's been a fantastic
Sharon.
interview.
Yes, thank you.
And to play us out, we've got one of Frances's new tracks from her album, which is Project Sparrow, or to be confirmed on that one. This is Imaginary Chains.
I'm looking at the snapshot of my life, Its colors weave a cloak so rich in sorrow. You're failing, but it's no fault of mine. I've worn our secrets with a smile for so long. Pull me in, pull me in, imaginary chains wind me up, wind me up, and let me fall. I'm looking at the cracks against the light, a fairy tale complete without a dreamer. I've been so far, I feel like my back is gonna break, and the loving cup you give to me is bitter. Pull me in, pull me in, imaginary chains wind me up, wind me up, and let me fall. Feathers can't fly, they need a heart that beats, and nothing is as solid as the ground beneath my feet. Even if I can't see the wood between the trees, when there's nothing left for you and me but cry talk. Pull me in, pull me in, imaginary chains wind me up, wind me up, and let me fall.
You've been listening to Meet the Artist on Make It Heard. This is a Make It Right production by Sharon Coltman.